set up. I think I got it. And I don't see an option to go sideways with this. I don't know why. Let's see, what's this one here do? Okay, there is no option that I can see to turn the phone, and I don't know why. Okay, welcome everybody. Let me get this shared on the other page while some folks get on. And we have been looking for something here and that I kind of wanted and finally found it. And so I'm a little late coming on. All right, let me get this switched over to this. And then we'll get this shared on the other page while folks are getting on board with us here. Okay, that's what I need right there, I think. Here we go. All right. There it is. Let me find the live stream and get it shared. Okay. Yeah, it's coming, I'm sure. I'm going to try to pick this up a little. How's that? Need something behind there. Let's go with this. Try this here behind there. See if that does what I need it to do. All right, I guess that'll do for now. Okay. All right, I see folks are getting on. Slowly but surely. There we go. That's what I needed right there. There, how's that? There we go. I think I got what I wanted there. All right. There it is. Let me get it shared, and then we're ready to begin. Share. Come on. I hope everybody's having a great week so far. But my goodness, it is. We have been traveling so much and been to the studio. We did 3 more Revelation shows. And why isn't that sharing? Don't ask me. Don't ask me why. All right, maybe it will eventually, but is everybody, can everybody hear me okay? I hope. I think that's it right there. I think I got it. I think I got it shared. And we'll refresh that page. There it is. I don't know why I'm froze over there. All right, I think we're on. We got folks watching. We got folks commenting over here on YouTube. And it's hard for me to read them from this distance, but I see folks are coming on. Folks are commenting a little bit. And good. All right, we got some folks on. And why I can't refresh that is beyond my comprehension. Beyond my comprehension. All right. We are here live, and this is August 20th, 2024. It is 8:12 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 9:12 on the East Coast. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to try to keep these brief. We're going to do several of these in a row. I'm going to introduce the topic tonight, give you some of the foundational things, and I think I'll be some help to you. So get your Bible. If you have a Bible, get your piece of paper and a pen, a notebook or something. You might want to write a few things down. But we're going to be discussing, let me turn that just a tad. If I do, okay, I think we're okay. All right. Tonight we're going to be discussing the return of Rome. I've been telling you about this. I've told Doc about it. And we're going to be discussing the topic, the return of Rome. And I'll explain what I mean by that. And so stand by. We're going to be in Daniel chapter 2 tonight a little bit. We're going to probably start there. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by the return of Rome. We're going to go to the book of Daniel. And in my 7 Clocks a Ticking book, I have some information I'm going to read to you in the chapter called Daniel's Ticking Clock. There is a ticking clock within the book of Daniel that many prophecy teachings do not address. This marking of time refers to the existence of historic end-time kingdoms and civilizations. They are spoken of clearly in Daniel's chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, which tells the same story, just from a different perspective, and we'll get to that at a later time. Also, Revelation 13, the first 2 verses, discuss these same kingdoms. These are very important chapters, by the way. Very important concepts for the prophecy student. Upon study, you'll find the kingdoms mentioned in these ancient scriptures have been proven true in documented history, which all the way to Alexander the Great. We've all heard about Alexander the Great. We've seen movies about him, read stories. He's not mentioned by name, but he's in the book of Daniel. He is the Grecian Empire that takes over Persia. They don't last too long, but Rome's going to come along and go to war with them, and they're going to overtake them, and Rome will become the world empire. Okay, so Daniel chapter 2 gives us the story of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. You know that story, right? Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, and he wakes up after his dream, and he can't remember. Not only does he not know what the dream meant, he can't remember the dream. He calls in all his magicians and wise men, and he says, tell me what my dream meant. And they all said, "Oh, king, live forever. Tell us the dream, and then we'll tell you what it meant." He said, "Look, I don't remember the dream. If you're a real wise man, if you're real magicians, you'll tell me the dream and the interpretation." Nobody could do it. He got very upset. He was threatening to end some lives. Heads were going to roll. Daniel begins to pray. He says, "Dreams belong unto God." Daniel gets other people praying, and God gives Daniel not only the dream, but the interpretation thereof. And he knocks on the door, and goes in before Nebuchadnezzar, and says, "O king, live forever. Dreams belong unto God." He gave the glory to God. He tells the king the dream, and then he tells the king the interpretation of the dream. And the dream is this: Nebuchadnezzar saw a statue with a head of gold. Let me give you them here. He saw a statue standing on its feet, and the head on it was a head of gold. And by the way, these are all precious metals here. And they start with the most valuable, and they work their way down. And by the way, they start with not only the most valuable, but the softest metals. And they go into less valuable, but much harder and much stronger. That's interesting, isn't it? In light of the fact that these are kingdoms. So Babylon is the head of gold. That's 605 BC. Daniel tells Nebuchadnezzar, "Thou art the head of gold." So the head of gold, Babylon, is a kingdom, but it's also a man. It's a king. It can be confusing sometimes. Sometimes it's speaking of the kingdom. Sometimes it's speaking of the king. And if you know anything about kingdoms and kings and rulers, you know that you cannot separate the kingdom from the king. Are we not understanding that today with the presidential thing coming along? The president, the man in charge, has a lot of power, executive orders. They rule by executive order now, and just like a king would. Forget Congress. I'll just make a rule by executive order. There you go. And I mentioned to Doc in one of the shows. I don't know if I did it on the air or not. I was telling him that when I was in the Navy, I was on the USS Savannah, and whenever the captain came on board, came up the gangplank and came on board, they would whistle over the intercom, and they would say USS Savannah arriving. What did that mean? That meant the captain's coming on board. He is the USS Savannah. See what I'm getting at there? Sometimes sometimes it's speaking of the kingdom. Sometimes it's speaking of the king over that kingdom. But usually it's both. They're one and the same to some degree. And so the statue that Nebuchadnezzar had a dream of, and I believe God gave him this dream because this is prophetic. This came to pass. He saw the statue. The head of gold on top of the statue was Nebuchadnezzar. By the way, he was quite excited about that when Daniel told him, "Thou art the head of gold." Daniel or Nebuchadnezzar liked that. That appealed to him, as it appeals to all dictators and rulers, doesn't it? And the truth is, all of us got that pride within us that's got to be fought all the time, don't we? We all like to be thought that we're somebody, don't we? Sure. Um, okay, let me hit the enter button there if I can find it. Where is it? There it is. That ain't it. Okay. So that's the next thing he saw was the chest and arms, and boy, my low batteries on. I hope I make it through this. The chest and arms of silver, and that's the kingdom of the Medes and the Persians. They're going to come through the tunnel after Nebuchadnezzar is dead. Belteshazzar is sitting there bathing and basking in the riches of the chalices and gold from Jerusalem, sitting there, and God puts a sign up there, writes on there, "Thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting." And while he's reading that, they're coming through the sewers, the army is, and they overtake Babylon, and Persia becomes the world kingdom of that day. This is still during Daniel's lifetime. So Babylon didn't last too long, maybe 75 years, 65 years, I don't know, somewhere in there. And then the Persians are going to take over. And they're going to last a while. And then Greece, they're going to last a few hundred years. Greece is going to come along, and Greece is going to become the world leader under Alexander the Great. Just a young man, by the way. I think 19 years old or something like that, ruled the world. 19 years old. And as much as you can rule the world without satellites and cell phones, and you know what I mean. But all right. And then, of course, somewhere, I forget the date, 100 and something BC, Rome's going to overtake Greece, and Rome will become the Roman Empire. And now in the story here, the head is made of gold, very precious, very well, very costly. And then silver, the Medes and the Persians, the chest and arms of silver, still valuable, but not as valuable as gold, not as desirable as gold. But by the way, harder material than gold. Number three, Greece, the belly and thighs of brass. See how the metals are going down in value, but they're going up in strength, aren't they? Interesting. Gold is very soft. That's why they always mix gold with something. You seldom have 100% gold. You can get 999 gold, but it's very soft, and so you can't do a lot with it. You add something to it, like a wedding ring. You wouldn't make a wedding ring 24 karat gold, which is 100% gold. It'd get all beat up and bent up on your finger. So that's why we have 18 karat gold, 14 karat, 10 karat. The less carat gold it is, the stronger it is, but the less it's worth, right? That goes down through this system here. As each kingdom takes over, they are stronger than the one before, but they are less pretty, less valuable, less desirable. Okay, is that fair to say? So you got the gold, Nebuchadnezzar, the chest and arms of silver. That's the Medes and the Persians that take over. Then you got the belly and thighs of brass. That's Greece. Brass is harder, much harder than silver, but less valuable, right? Then you got the feet. You got the legs of iron. I'm sorry, the legs of iron. That's Rome. I should have just quoted these. I can quote them fine, but I'm trying not miss anything, and I do better just rattle them off from my head. But um, so the legs split in two. There's two legs, and that's Rome. Remember, the Roman Empire divides there at some time. So that's the legs of iron. Iron's much less value than gold, quite a bit less value than silver, some less value than brass. It's iron, but it's very hard. You would make spears and weapons out of iron. You might use some brass too, but iron is what you're going to want to use for your spears and your missiles and all that, and your gates of your city. You're going to want iron. So you see how these kingdoms get more powerful and more strong, but they get less glamorous. Nebuchadnezzar started it off, the head of gold. Boy, he was so excited. He was that head of gold, right? Interesting. So these four kingdoms, these literally happened. Daniel prophesied it. Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7 tells the same story. Daniel 2 uses the statue and the metals. Daniel 7 uses wild beasts, and I have them here as well. Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon is the lion with eagle's wings. Medes and the Persians is likened unto a bear. Greece is likened unto a leopard with four wings. Rome, guess what Rome is called? A dreadful beast. And don't forget that. A dreadful beast. Not even, we don't know what it is. He didn't call it a lion or a bear or a leopard. Dreadful, a dreadful beast. And that's Rome. It's the Roman Empire. Remember the old saying, all roads lead to Rome? And you got Roman law, Roman rule, Roman roads, Roman money, Roman everything. Interesting, huh? And very strong, very powerful, a ruling with a rod of iron, the Caesars of Rome. I mean, what they said went. Every once in a while, the people would rebel, or the Senate would rebel. You remember Mark Antony was it? Remember they killed the Caesar there. Um, so that happened a few times, but the Caesars were they were like a god to the people. They were like a god. They felt like they were gods. They told that's what they stood upon. They were to be treated as a god, and very powerful. Not very pretty because it's iron, but it's powerful. Able to trample over the foot of men. Able to trample over kingdoms. This is all introduction now. I'm going to tell you about this. Rome is going to fall, I think, in the 500 ADs. Rome is in power before and during the time of Christ. And you know that. You know that Rome was involved in arresting Christ, and he's going to be brought before Pilate, and who's really a Roman person. And Rome's going to have a part in that. But of course, Israel's going to reject the Messiah and hand him over and say, "Give us Barabbas," and we'll take Barabbas. We hate Jesus so much, we'll take that wicked, vile Barabbas. Let him go. So Rome falls apart somewhere around 500 AD, somewhere in there, if I got my dates right in my head here. And there's a book you can read. There are books you can read on the fall of Rome. Very interesting. There was, I think, 5 main things, and I'll try to get those for you later. I could rattle off 2 or 3 of them off my top of my head, but there are basically the book that was written about the fall of Rome gave 5 major reasons why Rome fell. One of them was the arenas and they had holidays. They had, I think, over 300 holidays. I mean, when do people work? It was all entertainment, and it was blood, and it was the Colosseums and the lions and and the gladiators. That really happened. That stuff, and it destroyed them. Along with that, the immorality and the wickedness of the people, and just whoremongering. And you've heard about the bathhouses of Rome and all this stuff. You've seen the movies, you've read books. It became just debauchery. It just became a wicked society, but from the top down. And that's what happens when you think you're God, and your leader is God, and what he says goes. You've heard of Caligula. What a wicked, vile man he was. Nero. I mean, they burnt Christians. They put Christians on crosses and burnt them. By the way, I believe they burnt Rome, or it might have not been. I think it was Rome. They burned the city, blamed it on the Jews, so that they could kill them. It's never been popular to be a Jew, has it? And so let me hurry up here and finish up this segment and let you go. Um, so this Roman Empire falls. And so now all that means is they're no longer the world power. They didn't go away. Are you with me? Rome never died. Rome is part of America today. It's part of Great Britain. It's part of Europe. It's part of Greece. It's still, the tentacles are still there. They're just not a world ruler. And by the way, it all started with Babylon. Don't miss this now. The kingdoms of the world all started with Babylon, not in Daniel 2, but in Genesis 10 and 11. I'm talking about Nimrod. I'm talking about his mother. I'm talking about this stuff about her her virgin birth and all this, which wasn't a virgin birth, of course. And all this stuff that kind of fits Catholicism today, and the symbolism and the rituals that they did, all are can clearly be seen even all these 4,000 years later, right here in America. The religious part and the political. That's the second thing I want to say. So, number one, it all starts with Babylon. Babylon falls, but Babylon doesn't go away. The attributes and the beliefs of Babylon get intertwined with the Medes and the Persians. Are you with me? The Medes and the Persians take over, but there's still Babylonian people all over the place. There's still colleges and schools and homes, and the people mingle, so they don't lose that, right? Medes and the Persians get overtaken a few decades later by Greece, or a few centuries later, I should say, Alexander the Great. Now, does that mean everybody in Greece and the Grecian Empire, everybody suddenly stops believing what they've always believed? No. What did they believe? They believed stuff they got from the Medes and the Persians and Babylon. So these attributes and these character traits of these different world empires didn't die. They just got overcome by a greater power and intertwined together. Are you with me? Remember, you've heard me say, and I say it in this book. In fact, I say it in this chapter that I'm reading from. Diversity does not strengthen a nation. Diversity weakens a nation. And when you get diversity, um, it begins to weaken your moral values, your work ethics, it weakens you in that way. Your army gets weaker, and so you intertwine. And so when Rome takes over the world, eventually they're going to be weakened because they've got all these different people of different values and different religions and different idols and different this and but they're all one now. And so what happens? Weakness sets in. Even Rome, the great beast, the dreadful beast called Rome, rises up, takes over the world. Roman roads, Roman laws, Roman institutions, Roman morals and or immorals, and they take over, right? Now you've heard the saying, the revised Roman Empire. How many have heard that before? Raise your hands. I see those hands. The revised Roman Empire. Now, there are some people teaching something different today. I believe they're wrong. And I believe Daniel chapter 2 proves that they're wrong. They believe that the Muslims are going to be the final world kingdom. And I do not believe that. And I believe I can show you why in Revelation 17 and 18, which we just did a show on. We did 2 shows on it. That's coming up here in the next few weeks. Doc and I did for the TV show. I believe that that is completely wrong. I do not believe that the final world empire of the Antichrist will be Muslim, nor do I believe that the Antichrist will be a Muslim. Do not believe that. And I don't believe that they can prove that. I believe I can prove the opposite. I believe I can take you to Revelation 17 and show you that final world power is somebody that part of the description of them is that they shed the blood of the martyrs is on their hands. Now you go back in history, all the way to the 1st century. Just start following the bloodline. Yes, the Muslims killed people too, but no, Rome butchered people. The Inquisition and anyone that got in their way. I'm talking about political and the religious. The religious part of Rome was right there, giving the okay to butcher people. And so the final 4th kingdom here, the dreadful beast, is Rome. It falls out of power somewhere around 500 AD. Several reasons why. How did it start in Babylon? Esther is asking. Very simple. That's the 1st kingdom. Now don't forget, these are the 4 kingdoms from 600 BC with Daniel on. It's not talking about before that. You got Egypt before Babylon. Way back in Exodus, you got Egypt, the world power. But what we're talking about is the kingdoms that are going to exist from Daniel's day forward as they relate to Israel. And they're going to be world kingdoms. That's what that statue's about. And by the way, at the end time, let me read you the next one. Because the legs of iron, that 4th kingdom's not the end. Because he goes on to talk about the feet of that statue. The feet and the 10 toes, remember? And they're made of iron mixed with clay. See, diversity. It's not as strong as the iron was, and now it's mixed with clay. This is the revised Roman Empire. The 10 toes on those feet represent 10 kingdoms that are going to be world kingdoms and are going to all eventually come together and appoint somebody to head the whole thing. He'll be the Antichrist. Okay? That's the revived Roman Empire. So what is the Roman Empire? It's the Roman Empire that took over Alexander the Great, and they were grafted in and became Romans eventually. Where did those Greece come from? The Greeks. Well, you got Greece, but you got all the world empire around Greece. They still had their beliefs and idols, right? They eventually became part of Greece in that world empire, and all the attributes and some of the trademarks and character traits of these kingdoms, all the way back to Babylon, are all entwined in this kingdom as it goes through the centuries. That's Esther. You understand what I'm saying there? These Babylon started it all in Genesis, and some of Babylon's beliefs you'll find in Egypt with the pharaohs. Okay, but it started in Babylon with Nimrod and his mother, and some other things there. And that kingdom, that's why it's called mystery, Babylon the Great, in Revelation 17 and Revelation 18. Why? Because it all goes back to some things about Babylon, which are both political and religious. Now, when I say political, I mean also I'm talking about the money system, because that's all, I believe that's really all part of the political system. The government controls and prints and decides what the money is. So it's, commerce. That's all part of the government, really. All right. So are you with me, Esther? Did I help you? Did I? It When another kingdom takes over a kingdom, there are hundreds of thousands of people scattered throughout the area. They all become part of the next kingdom, but they don't all give up their beliefs, right? I mean, you don't. Obviously, you still believe what you believed before the flag came down and another flag went up. That didn't mean you changed your belief system, right? So these attributes, these trademarks of these different kingdoms, from Babylon, Persia, Greece, and then into Rome, all them different trade, and you see the different symbolism given here: the gold, the silver, brass, iron, clay, and then you got the beast talked about in Revelation or Daniel chapter 7. You got a lion, you got a bear, you got a leopard, you got a beast, and you got 10 horns. These things are all intertwined now. So that final kingdom that falls away in Rome was made up of attributes of all of them, but Rome kind of falls away, but it's coming back. That's the 10 toes. And by the way, in Revelation 13, verse 1 and 2, and I've shared this with Doc, what happens is that statue for the first time gets up on its feet and up on the 10 toes, up on the feet, and it stands. It has all the attributes of the four kingdoms. But now it's the fifth kingdom now of the 10 toes, and now it stands on its feet. See, these kingdoms couldn't stand as one on their feet until the feet are there. Are you with me there? Do you see what I'm saying? So the statue stands up, not in Nebuchadnezzar's day, not in the Medes and Persians' day, not in Alexander the Great's day, and not even in Rome's day. It's the fifth kingdom, which is the revised Roman Empire, the Antichrist kingdom, where the kingdom it finally stands up complete. And that's why you see in Revelation 13, it talks about all four of the kingdoms being that end time kingdom. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. Go read it. And we'll talk about that in the near time here. The final kingdom has attributes of all four: Babylon, Alexander the Great, the Medes and the Persians, not in that order, Rome, and it stands up on the 10 toes, and eventually one man rules it. And it's the statue standing up, and it's a dreadful beast with 10 horns sticking out of its head. What do you do with horns? You stick people with them. It's battle, right? 10 horns. Now, here's my point of this whole series. That kingdom of Rome, which has parts of all the kingdoms in it, never truly went away completely. For one thing, the religious part of that kingdom never died. It lost lost a lot of its power as the Protestant Reformation took over, and the Baptist and they lost a lot of their power. Even Great Britain, when Bloody Mary dies, Queen Elizabeth takes the throne. She's Protestant. She ends the persecution, ends Catholic rule in England, and they went back and forth several times. But so even the religious side of Rome lost a lot of power, and has throughout the decades, throughout the centuries. But that's part of Rome. And Rome is coming back. Daniel tells us that, by the way, every one of these came to pass just as God said, just as Nebuchadnezzar dreamed it, just as Daniel dreamed it in Daniel 7. He had that dream and learned about the same four kingdoms, and then the fifth dreadful kingdom, the Antichrist kingdom. He saw it all. It's going to happen. The kingdom of the Antichrist is coming, and it's a Roman kingdom. Are you with me? It's the revived Roman kingdom that will have attributes of all four of those kingdoms. Babylon, which means it's going to have the religious side, It's going to have the political side. It's going to have some gold in it. It's going to have some silver and some brass and a lot of iron and clay. It's going to have some lions and leopards and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, yeah, that final kingdom. Going to be ruled by the Antichrist and the false prophet's going to point to him, push people to him. And he's the religious, one world religious system that's going to exist. It exists right now. After the rapture, it will take the center stage as the church. It's already happening. They're already putting a black mark upon Christianity. They're trying to keep us from praying, keeping us from talking about abortion and gay rights and all this stuff. They're trying to make us look like evil people. Well, there's nothing new about that. That goes all the way back to Rome, and after in the first century with Nero and all them guys. Yeah, Caligula, and so there's another kingdom that comes after the Antichrist kingdom. We'll close with this, and that's Christ's kingdom. In Daniel chapter 2, he's the stone cut out without hands out of the mountain. A stone out of the mountain cut out without hands. In other words, God did it. It's not of man. That stone is going to hit the statue. See, remember I said in the last days that statue gets up on its feet. Those world kingdoms are all now standing up on its feet. One power. There's nobody going to defeat that. Who is it? In fact, Revelation. Who is able to stand against the beast? I'll tell you who. The stone cut out of the mountain without hands. Jesus Christ. Coming on that white horse. Revelation 19:11. With the saints, with his bride, his brand new bride, that's just been at the 7-year marriage supper, and now we are now the bride of Christ. We get on our horses. He's taking us to our new home. He's stopping by the Battle of Armageddon just for a moment to end that battle, and he's gonna set up the kingdom. He topples that statue. The stone crumbles the statue to the ground. Ends that dreadful beast. Ends it just like that. And sets up the kingdom. My point in all this is this, and next time we'll get into some of this. But if Rome is coming back, and it's not an if, it is coming back. Since Rome is coming back, shouldn't we be able to see some character traits and some signs that Rome is back, coming into power? Sure, and I'm going to show you some of that. Rome is coming back. The return of Rome. Don't be afraid. And we may face some tough times, no doubt. And Mr. Trump's not going to save the world. Now, I think you better vote for him. You better hope God gives us a little bit of a reprieve here, but he may not. America is wicked as the devil now. My goodness, America's become a cesspool. And, God bless America. Why? Now pray that God gets a hold of us. Pray for revival. Pray, but listen, you're not going to stop what's coming. Prophecy is history written in advance. God's already saw it, and he told us about it. Some of it happens gradually on its own. Some of it God has his hand in it. Bible does say God puts in power whomsoever he will, right? Turns the hearts of the kings. Yeah. So it's all happening. That final kingdom is on the way here. You can see it now, and I've gone longer than I wanted. I was hoping to keep these 20 minutes or so. We've already gone over half an hour. In fact, maybe 40 minutes. So, all right, we'll cut it off here. And remember that the series is called The Return of Rome. I've tried to give you the background here, the foundation of what I'm talking about. Rome is coming back. It's called the Revised Roman Empire. If that's true, and it is, and we're at the end time, and we are, and time is short, and it is, then there ought to be some telltale signs out there in the world around us that point us to the fact that Rome is coming back. I mean, here it is. And I'll share some things on that next time. God bless. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the bookstore if you don't have any of my books. If you don't have the 7 Clocks, this is an excellent book. And my brand new book, I think the most important book I've ever written, is The Prophecy Puzzle. If you don't have that yet, get it. And all right, we'll see you next time. But until next time, keep your eyes on them skies.